The Pro Bowl is a joke.
Welcome to the Rines Report with your host, Tristan Blake Rines.
Maybe not for everyone, but the Pro Bowl is kind of a waste of time, right? Like, the way it's currently set up, I feel like it's okay, but it could be better. Let me explain. The Pro Bowl, for those of you who stumble upon this video and for some reason don't really know what it is, let me explain. Look, the Pro Bowl is like the NBA's all-star game. It's a wonderful opportunity for fans to see all their favorite players from their favorite teams, all in the same field at one time. Players get compensated for their time, $61,000 if they win, and $30,000 if they're on the losing side. They got some fun challenges for the players, including a dodgeball game, obstacle courses, receiving challenge, and a few more things. I mean, it's just some stuff leading up to it during the week. It's the week before the Super Bowl, so it's a nice little palate cleanser before we get to watch the biggest sports spectacle in the United States. Look, like in the World Cup's the big thing. In the United States, we got the Super Bowl. That's what brings families and people together. It's the most watched spectacle in America. Like, at any given time. They got a few team captains for this event, though. The Pro Bowl, it's okay. They got some team captains. This year, they got NFL legend Michael Vick, Bruce Smith, Terrell Davis, Darryl Green, Hall of Famers as well. It's a nice-ish part of the country. It's in Orlando, but I wouldn't say it's nearly as spectacular as, like, Hawaii. It's not that getaway that NFL players are getting. The NFL is paying for. The NFL left Hawaii as the destination for the Pro Bowl after 2016 and doesn't seem to have any plans to go back. I've read a few articles, and it wasn't necessarily because of the stadium. It wasn't necessarily anything in particular. It just seemed like the NFL wanted to keep it in the on the mainland, so to speak. I guess I don't know. I hope I'm using that terminology correctly. It used to bring like 15,000 people to Hawaii, helped boost the economy a little bit. And it was just like a fun little getaway for fans and players and people who just enjoy the Pro Bowl as a whole, right? Players are voted on by the fans, and we're going to get into more of that in a little bit. Players who aren't playing in the Super Bowl obviously aren't going to be in it, so there's a good chunk of players that don't even make the Pro Bowl, even if they wanted to go. And let's start breaking down why it's kind of a joke. Guys decline all the time to not play in the Pro Bowl. They're allowed to do so. Like, there's no obligation. They don't have to actually be present at the Pro Bowl. Some guys really look forward to it every year. Some guys, you know, they go their first one or their second one, and then afterwards it's more or less just not worth their time, right? And then we get some guys that actually play in the Pro Bowl that really aren't worth it, that weren't actually voted in necessarily, that kind of just, you know, got the call and said, hey, I guess I'll fill in a roster spot. You were pretty good this year. Do you want to go play? And, you know, we'll pay for all the expenses, blah, blah, blah. And the player's like, yeah, I guess so. You know, got nothing else better to do this Sunday, so whatever, free trip, all the incentives involved. But there are plenty of players who just decide not to go, and then you end up with less than stellar guys like, I don't know, like Mitch Trubisky making a Pro Bowl, and even though he was okay, like he's not exactly who you want to see, or, you know, guys who get snubbed, all that kind of stuff. And look, the players who actually make it in, the fan vote, so there's a way it all breaks down, right? 1/3 of the vote goes to the fans, another third goes to the actual players, and then the final third goes to the coaches, and then I think there's a little bit of a mix of some different people from around the NFL mixed in there. But there are limited spots regardless, and there is always seemingly someone snubbed every year that otherwise should have made it, right? Like this year, it was Zadarius Smith. He apparently felt snubbed during their playoff run. He even had a shirt that said "snubbed" on it. I think during the Seattle game, and sometimes it just becomes a whole debacle, becomes a whole mess. And Zadarius Smith had a really good season this year, so I mean, deservedly so. He should feel snubbed, right? And then on top of it all, the players don't take it seriously. I don't think anybody expects them to, but like, and there's no real reason to. Like, you're going out here on a game that you're kind of volunteering for, no legitimate obligation for. It's an honor, and it's all nice, and you know they put it in your like, you know, your resume, but the end of your career. But I mean, no one really takes it seriously unless you're, you know, rest in peace Sean Taylor, and you're laying out, you know, whoever that poor soul was. Now, You don't want to see your team superstar impact players getting hit hard. You don't want to see them risking injury. You don't want to see them getting hurt. Coaches like to get a little tricky and stuff, and they put guys out of position because they're super athletic, but not many guys are out there enough to care about winning. And for some of these guys, look, like $61,000, $30,000, that's a lot of money. But to these guys who are making like millions of dollars every week during the season, like I don't know, some of these guys, you know, that helps, and some of these guys really appreciate it, and some of those guys, like, you know, that's not a big of a deal. The NFL has tried to make the Pro Bowl interesting. They did fantasy drafts one year, which actually I liked. I liked the fantasy draft aspect. And then they stopped. I think what would be really interesting is if they ever did bring it back, maybe you get a couple of fans involved, you know, make it like a sponsorship thing, like the DraftKings couple of fans of the year. They get to go to the Pro Bowl and help fantasy draft the Pro Bowl teams along with the team captains. Like, it'd be Michael Vick, Bruce Smith, and whoever, and whatever fan from DraftKings, and then this fan and Darryl Green and Terrell Davis. They won the contest from the NFL or something, right? Like, I think that'd be pretty neat, but I don't think they're going to go back to doing the fantasy draft thing. I don't know. It's a fun little promo, but I don't think the NFL's going to go back to it. Even one year they narrowed the goalposts. Okay, kickers are kind of just happy to be there. It makes their jobs harder, but I mean, they get the bonus and the paycheck, all that good stuff. You know, it makes the game somewhat more interesting. This year, again, they're trying some new stuff with different kickoffs and different, you know, packages and all sorts of stuff. The rule change will allow teams, rather than onside kicking, they run a 4th and 15 play from the 25-yard line. And, you know, if you fail it, wherever the ball lands, essentially, is where the opposing team gets it. I mean, I like this rule myself. The now defunct AAF tried it, if I'm not mistaken. Seems like an interesting alternative. Onside kicks are really, really hard to recover. Only 6.1% of non-surprise onside kicks, very kind of specific in the wording, but only 6.1% of legitimate onside kicks are recovered. That's a really, really low number. This could end up being a new step in a different direction, something the NFL might be considering. I think it's something to continue to rattle around the headspace, rattle around the noggin a little bit, right? But back to the actual Pro Bowl. Nowadays, the Pro Bowl has kind of lost its value. Like I mentioned earlier, for Hall of Fame inductions and, you know, award ceremonies, it's always nice to add in, you know, this player made X amount of Pro Bowls and all pros, and, you know, they did all these things, but the Pro Bowl gets added in to your actual resume. So I wish it kind of had more of, you know, that worth again. People add to the resume. They get respectable ways to show recognition, they add to careers, but the game itself, again, it just doesn't really amount to anything. It doesn't really matter. The skill challenges, they're fun. They extend the YouTube clicks and some NFL Network views, I'm sure, a little bit. I love how it gets fans seemingly great chances to get pictures and signatures with their favorite players. What else, you know, the NFL can do for the Pro Bowl is make it a great opportunity for fans to meet some of the greatest players in the game, right? I mean, the Pro Bowl could be a little bit more fan-centered, in my opinion. Like, I understand, like I said, the challenges are kind of fun, and you get to see the players out there at walkthroughs. They're not real practices. Like, the playbooks aren't really difficult, but I mean, I think it's a really good opportunity that you can get fans involved. Like, okay, look, like 2 or 3 days out of the week, we're going to pay you more money to come out here. But, you know, like 1 or 2 of these days, like, you're just going to spend a couple hours and you're going to be in this location and you're going to sign memorabilia, maybe take some pictures. And people who sign up for this, essentially, like, they can meet and, you know, chat with their favorite players for like a brief moment. You know, it's almost like a convention style thing. I think that'd be a really cool, neat idea. Instead of, you know, oh, I saw him from a distance and you paid all this money and you went all across these states, and that's all great and all. And then, like, you know, maybe you miss out on the opportunity to get that signature. Or maybe you miss out on the opportunity to get that picture. I think the Pro Bowl could end up being more fan-centered. I feel like that'd be a really fun approach. You might get more people involved. I mean, people love memorabilia, get those pictures with, like, some of their favorite players. Those are memories that'll last with you for forever. I mean, I've only met a couple NFL players in my life. I've been fortunate enough to get a couple pictures, and I met Kyle Arrington, and then Hall of Fame great defensive player Lawrence Taylor. I've met a couple of people, but, you know, most people don't get to do these kind of things, right? Like, I've only met a couple. I've met some greats in the game in general, but, like, I haven't met a ton of people, right? So what if you just made it more fan-centered? Let fans meet their favorite players a little bit more. Give them a chance. Give them the opportunity, at least. And I feel like that'd be a really good reward to the fans who spend all the kind of money and take all these kind of trips to go see some of the best players in the game. And honestly, I think you'd probably get some better attendance at the games. Again, make the trip worth it. Give fans a chance mingle their favorite players, get them more involved. Those are just a few ideas I have for the Pro Bowl. Some things that the NFL could consider. But that's my 2 cents. Again, I think the NFL Pro Bowl necessarily, I don't know, it just kind of feels like a waste of time the way it is right now. I mean, you got guys in the Super Bowl who obviously aren't going to play because they're preparing to play in the biggest game of the year. It used to be the week after the Super Bowl, so after you play the Super Bowl, win or lose, you get the opportunity for every player in the NFL who was elected to actually go out. You don't have to sub in new players. It doesn't have to become a whole hassle. And then you can just leave that extra Sunday to more Super Bowl coverage. Let's keep hyping this game up, you know what I mean? So, I don't know. Those are just some thoughts for me on the Pro Bowl. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's the Rines Report here on YouTube. I got all the social medias down in the description below. Feel free to give me a subscribe, like, comment, share, all that good stuff. Obviously, the most recent video right here, subscribe button right there. Check out some more stuff right here on YouTube. It's the Rines Report, and I'll catch you guys next week. Adios.